It's 2023. The embargoes have lifted and all the manufacturers have revealed their new products to the world. Now, if you are in need of a shiny new driver, or if you just want to find out if you are due for an upgrade of your current setup, then stay tuned because in this video I am going to sum up all the driver lineups of all the big major OEMs. Here we go. Starting off with Mizuno. Mizuno is keeping things refreshingly simple this year with basically only two driver models, the ST230Z and the ST230X. And Mizuno is not targeting a specific player type with these models. Their advice is to just test them out with a club fitter to find out which of their two models works best for your swing. Of course, Mizuno is most famous for their exceptional irons, especially their forged player models have been longtime favorites of mine. However, they have been making very capable drivers for years now, and because they are not one of the big players in this market space, their drivers usually offer pretty good value for money with real deal aftermarket shaft options without an upcharge. Both new driver models feature the Cortec chamber, which is a steel weight behind the face encased in a TPU casing. This weight close to the face should give more ball speed and lower spin numbers. The club heads are made from a combination of titanium and carbon. The Z is the straight, lower launching and lower spinning model, where the X is the model with a little bit of draw bias built into the head that also launches and spins a bit more due to a deeper CG. Both models will cost you almost $500. There is also a lightweight version of the X that weighs 30 grams less, called the ST230X Paradym, which is probably pronounced something like platinum. This model has more draw bias built in and will cost you about $550. And I think this model would be ideally suited for players who are looking for a little bit more club head speed, players who are maybe aging or not that strong. They can couple that with a nice lightweight shaft to increase your chances of a higher club head speed. Now, if you ask me, the Mizuno heads look really good. And with their price point being a bit below the big players, I think everyone should at least try their drivers out. Moving on to another big Japanese golf brand, Srixon. Srixon has brought out new versions of their ZX drivers, the ZX Mark II series. Srixon have made improvements to the face of the driver, creating a dual flex zone with a rebound frame for more efficient energy transfer to the golf ball. They say that this produces a 10% larger high core area than the previous generation, so in effect creating more forgiveness in terms of ball speed across the face, and a 2 mile/hour increase in ball speed on average compared to last year's model. As far as I can tell, the Srixon drivers are completely made out of titanium. The ZX5 is their base model, and it will appeal to the biggest audience. It has a big footprint and a shallow face, as well as a weight in the back of the head. All of this is done to promote a high launch with enough backspin to actually keep the ball in the air long enough. The ZX5 also comes in a ladies model. Now, they have created a low spin version of this ZX5 called the LS, which basically has the same footprint, but now the weight is placed close to the face for lower launch and lower spin. If you ask me, this could have just been one model with two swappable weights, front and back. That way, it could have been either a low spinning version of the ZX5 or a high spin version of the ZX5. The ZX7 is their other low spinning driver. However, this model has a slightly smaller footprint because it's not the full 460 cc's and it features two swappable weights. But now on the heel and the toe side of the sole to dial in shot shape. This model also has a little bit of fade bias built in. All of the specs just mentioned will probably only appeal to the higher skilled and faster swinging players. A nice thing to note though is that Srixon is now going full industry standard hex key for their loft sleeve adjustments. So no longer are they using their own proprietary weird box shaped key. So if you have another driver key, you can put that one in the bag and leave your pretty Srixon key at home. Like with Mizuno, Srixon is aiming to eke out a place in the driver market by giving you value for money. The ZX Mark IIs will go for around $500. Cobra had a sleeper hit with their F9 driver, and they built upon that last year with their Rad Speed series. Their new Aerojet series is built upon the LTDX platform, so that means that the milled face of the F9 and the Rad Speed is now gone. The heads are made of both carbon and titanium and have a power bridge in the sole, which places the CG low and close to the face for low spin and extra ball speed. Other flashy names like the PowerShell face insert and the hot face all help to attain high ball speeds, and the name Aerojet comes from its aerodynamic shaping. The standard Aerojet has a weight in the back of the head, where the Max model has an additional weight port in the heel of the club, and swapping the weights and placing the heavier weight in the heel of the club can increase that model's draw bias. The Aerojet LS is, of course, their lower spinning model and also has two weight ports, but they are placed on the toe and the heel side of the power bridge to dial in shot shape. This model has the most forward weighting to reduce spin. Again, it would have made more sense if they would have just consolidated everything into one head with 4 weight ports. That way you could have adjusted one driver to what you need. You need more spin? Put the weight in the back. Do you need more draw bias? Put the weight on the heel side. Do you need to reduce spin? Then put the heavier weight right behind the face. I think that way the driver could have adapted to your changing swing instead of you having to shell out for a new driver if you had some major swing changes. By everything that I've heard, the spin on all the Aerojet models is low, and they don't seem to be very forgiving. I've heard multiple reports of people who find them really hard to hit, but the ball speed they get out of them is really high. They very much remind me of the old Taylormade jet speed drivers of years past. Those were also very forward weighted and produced great ball speeds, but they were really hard to control and were very unforgiving. With Cobra increasing their price point when compared to years past, now at $550, I don't think I can recommend the Aerojets. Yeah, they're fast, but they're not very forgiving. I think most players will be better off with using a driver that spins a little bit more and is a little bit more forgiving. If you do want to try them, however, then I suggest trying a driver with a higher loft than what you're used to hitting. Maybe that will work for your game. Wilson is a brand that is probably not on many players' radar. They've been known for making budget clubs in years past, but Wilson is actually one of the OGs, and they remain the golf brand with the most major wins. I actually hit some of their old classic blades, and man, they are soft. They're as soft as any Miura that I have ever tried. In the last couple of years though, Wilson has been really working hard to establish themselves once again as a serious golf brand. And they make really good clubs for a really competitive price. For 2023, Wilson has revived their DynaPWR name. The DynaPWR driver comes in a carbon model and a full titanium model, both featuring the titanium PKR2 face, which has an optimized thickness across the face to offer better ball speeds even if you don't strike it out of the center. Wilson now has a 6-position adjustable hosel to play with the loft settings. The DynaPWR Carbon has carbon panels on the crown and sole aimed to help produce a lower spinning mid-launch ball flight that allows maximum workability and maximum distance. The carbon crown and sole will make the sound a lot more muted than the titanium version. This model is aimed at the better player and will go for $499.99, which of course sounds a lot cheaper than $500. The DynaPWR Titanium is designed for players that need a little bit more help with launch and features a deeper and lower CG position as well as a slight built-in draw bias. Its CG will also cause it to spin a little bit more, maximizing your carry distance, and this model will retail for $430. Of course, Wilson also offers a ladies version of the DynaPWR, which is built a bit lighter and offers higher lofts. Like I said before, Wilson tends to offer great value for money. And if you like what you see, I suggest to put them on your list and try them out. I think this Wilson DynaPWR Carbon, it could be a real sleeper this year. Moving on to Titleist. Titleist made a real jump in the driver market when they released their TS line, Titleist Speed line, and every iteration they just keep getting better. The ball speed department is exactly where Titleist is now keeping up with the likes of Callaway and Taylormade. So yeah, that TS line is going really well. With their TSR lineup, they have a driver for every type of player. The Titleist drivers are still all made completely out of titanium, but Titleist says that they have managed to save weight in places where it wasn't needed and created a more aerodynamic shape for more clubhead speed. They feature a multi-plateau face, except for the TSR3, but more on that later, which is their variable face thickness design to make the forgiveness in the ball speed as high as it can be all across the face. The Sure Fit hosel luckily has not changed, because I really like all the options that it gives you in terms of changing the face angle or the lie angle. The TSR1 is their lightweight offering for players that don't have a lot of clubhead speed. In this model, Titleist has created a deep center of gravity to help with launch. They are pairing the TSR1 heads with the super lightweight sub 45 gram MMT speed mesh shafts to give you the biggest potential for clubhead speed. Now this might not work for every player, but if we can slim the clubs down, make them as light as they can be, then yes, there is more potential for higher clubhead speeds. The TSR2 is going to appeal to the biggest range of players, and this is their standard model. It features a CG position that is lower and slightly more forward than that of the TSR1 to get some extra ball speed for the average swing speed player. When we come to the TSR3, this one is aimed at the higher swing speed players that also have a more consistent strike pattern on the face. It features a speed ring club face that maximizes ball speed from the center of the face, which they say will make the sweet spot even sweeter. The TSR3 also has a weight track system in the back of the club head to dial in preferred shot shapes. Lastly, the TSR4 is Titleist's lowest spinning offering. The club head is smaller than the others at 430 cc's, and it has a weight in the front and in the back, which can be switched out to dial in launch and spin numbers. Now, this model features the more forgiving multi-plateau face design that is also in the TSR1 and the TSR2. Coming in at $599, the TSR series is not cheap, but I think for a lot of you, they should be on the list to try out, especially that TSR2. That's going to suit a lot of players. Ping makes forgiving golf clubs, and you just gotta love them for that. Their G series has been popular on tour, and I don't think that that's going to change for this year. Last year's G425 was a great driver. However, I did find that with a lot of my clients that it launched very low for the lofts. This year's G430 doesn't seem to have that issue. They feature a thinner T9S Plus forged face design for better ball speeds across the face, but that is not the only change that was made. The face is now slightly shallower, and Ping also has added a variable roll radius to it. This basically means that the loft is lower on the low heel side of the face and slightly higher on the high toe side of the face, creating what they call spin consistency. This is done to fight the gear effect on those extremes of the club face and to keep spin and launch numbers a lot closer together. Think Taylormade's twist face and you get the point. Don't think Ping like me saying that. Another big change in the G430 is the addition of an internal rib structure to improve the sound and the feel of the driver. The ribs run from the heel to the toe on the inside of the crown and sole, creating more stiffness in the head and a more compact sound and feel on impact. And I'm really curious to try that out. The driver still has the same 8-position adjustable hosel, which even allows you to flatten the lie angle. The G430 Max is the most forgiving model and sports a 25-gram adjustable weight in the back of the driver to adjust shot shape, where the weight can be set in one of 3 positions. The G430 SFT, or straight flight technology, is their slice correcting model where the 22-gram weight can be set to either draw or draw plus. The price of the Max in the SFT models is $600. The G430 LST, or low spin tech, is of course their low spinning variant. It has a 22-gram weight that can be set to the same 3 positions as in the Max model, but it now has a carbon composite sole and crown, unlike the other full tube titanium models. This is a ping first. It's also a little bit more compact and has a slightly smaller footprint than the other two to appeal to the better players. And this is what we've been used to from the LST models from Ping. The price of the LST is going to be a whopping $630. Ping likes to make their driver heads a little bit heavier than the other manufacturers, and they like to couple those heavier heads with their own made counterbalance shafts, like their Alta CB, where the CB stands for counterbalance. Now, if you like to play your driver a little bit shorter than the stupid lengths that the industry standard is today, then this heavier Ping head actually helps you to keep your swing weight up if you're going for a shorter build. For me personally, that's a big plus. If you are a mid to high swing speed player, then don't overlook Ping's own Tour label shafts. I think they are still made by UST Mamiya, and they are really stable and excellent feeling shafts. Now for the two big boys. These are the two companies that have been competing for the top spot in the driver market for years now. If you're like me and you prefer the solid feel and the muted sound of a Callaway driver, then join the club and smash that subscribe button. If you're more of a flashy Taylormade player, then pound on that like button. If you prefer another brand for your boomstick, then write their name in the comments below. Let's continue with the last two brands. Let's start out with Taylormade. Last year, Taylormade brought out their first ever driver with a face made from carbon. The Taylormade Stealth. As you would expect from Taylormade, this club was very flashy, all singing, all dancing, and it performed really well. This year, they've used even more carbon in their drivers, freeing up additional weight for the engineers to play around with. Apparently, the Stealth 2 Plus model has 75% more carbon than last year's counterpart, and the Stealth 2 and Stealth 2 HD even 100% more carbon. They have improved the face and say that their 60X carbon twist face is now more forgiving thanks to an update to their inverted cone technology. The MOI has been increased this year because of the repositioning of all that weight, and with the help of the 25-gram tungsten weight in the back of the head and the TPS weight in the front. And like Ping, Taylormade has also tweaked the sound of the head by using internal stiffening ribs. The base model is the Stealth 2, and it is geared towards forgiveness. Mid to high launch with a mid to low spin, this model should appeal to the biggest crowd. The Stealth 2 HD is the higher launching model that has a built-in draw bias to help fight a slice, and it is the only variant that also comes in a ladies version. The Stealth 2 Plus is geared towards the higher swing speed players and offers a mid-launch and low backspin numbers. It's also the only version that has a weight track behind the face to dial in shot shapes. All heads are the full 460 cc's. The Stealth 2 and the Stealth HD come in at $600, $599.99, and the Stealth 2 Plus is available for $629.99. Finally, we come to Callaway, the other big boy in the driver market, and one of my personal favorites because of the more muted sounds that I can usually find in a Callaway driver. Callaway has also been looking into using more carbons with their new driver designs this year, and have developed forged carbon to eliminate titanium from the entire body of the club. The weight that is saved in this way is then placed back in the front and in the rear of the club for higher ball speeds and a higher MOI for more forgiveness. Once again, the jailbreak bar behind the face has been redesigned to save weight and increase torsional and horizontal stiffness. And the titanium face has also been redesigned once more by the AI and now has been paired with their face cup technology. With the triaxial carbon on top and the new forged carbon on the bottom, the clubs really stand out, although in a slightly more understated way than with Taylormade. The base model is the Paradym, and this model features a sliding weight in the back to dial in shot shape, and with its neutral bias, high launch, and moderate spin, this is the club that should speak to the masses. The Paradym X is the most forgiving model with the highest MOI of the lineup, but it also has a draw bias built in to fight a slice, and it has a slightly larger profile. There is no sliding weight in the X. The low spinning model this year is called the Paradym Triple Diamond. No longer is the name Triple Diamond reserved strictly for tour use. It replaces the LS or low spin designation of the previous year's models. The Triple Diamond has a smaller profile at 450 cc's and is clearly designed for the better player, offering lower spins and launch angles, and it has a neutral bias and a weight port behind the face for your club fitter to play around with. All Callaway Paradym drivers come in at $599.99. Well, there you have it. All the big major players in the driver market. The bigger OEMs are asking about $600 for their new premium drivers, where the smaller brands can be about $100 cheaper, so price is definitely a consideration here. If you can go into your fitting session with an open mind, you stand the biggest chance of coming away with a driver that is perfectly suited to your swing. And here's a little pro tip. A lot of the golf brands offer a shorter or tour length driver option. And I would really suggest you try out one of those shorter shafts in that driver to see what that does to your shot dispersion and what that does to your speeds. I actually swing the driver faster if I'm using a shorter shaft, and I think that the 45.5 or 46 inches, which is standard in a normal off-the-shelf driver nowadays, I think that's really too long for most players out there. I hope this video was a good starting point in the search of your new bomber. And let me know in the comments below what you decided on getting or which drivers you are going to test this year. This is the coach signing off. I'll see you in the next one.